Content warning. This video is not made for kids. It contains fictional depictions of mental illness, fictional violence, and fictional abuse. The fictional characters in this story are heavily afflicted by the things that I have spelled out to you, and some of the inner monologue seems to suggest that they should be getting hurt like this, but that is absolutely not the case. Me portraying this abuse or mental illness is meant to show the audience how the illness or abuse feels inside of the mind of the afflicted person, so they can sympathize and maybe stop themselves from following a similar pattern in the future. Be careful if you're easily triggered. You're most likely about to enter the mind of someone who is heavily afflicted by illness and abuse. Viewer discretion is advised. Gregory had invented a test for himself. He was going to wash the dishes without freaking out. There were many seemingly mundane things that had become triggers for Gregory. Pizza, flies, darkness, the stench of chlorine, the smell of wet pennies, neon lighting, even the sound of running footsteps over carpet. And doing the dishes was a part of that list. It was absolutely ridiculous, he knew. It sounded like an excuse not to do work. But still, the squeaking of glass plates and the sliding of metal utensils into their slots always made him instinctively freeze up and listen for Chica. Now that Dr. Morris taught him what a trigger was, he was able to recognize what was going on in his head and try and stop it. So that was what he was doing right now. Today, Miss Anderson had cooked homemade macaroni and cheese as a surprise for him, and Gregory felt like he had to return the favor. So, once he was done licking his bowl clean, he followed Miss Anderson to the sink, piling his dirty dish beside hers. While Miss Anderson loaded the leftover macaroni into a Tupperware container to be saved for later, Gregory grabbed the handle of the dishwasher and wrenched it open by dragging it down with his weight, the rattling of the racks inside making him jump a little. He exhaled in frustration. "It's fine, you're not in Chica's kitchen, that noise doesn't mean danger anymore," he coached himself. "Oh, Gregory, you don't have to do that," Miss Anderson said in the middle of sealing the Tupperware. "You can go pick out a movie if you want." "No, I can do this," Gregory chirped. "It'll go twice as fast, and then we can watch the movie." He dragged the stepping stool to the sink, stretching his arms up to grab a hold of the dirty dishes stacked there. Gross bits of wet food stuck to his fingernails, but Gregory tried to ignore it as he began to move plates into the dishwasher. That noise, it was a distinct, irritating little squeal of glass on metal, the dishes settling into place. Gregory focused on his breathing, determined not to make a scene. "That sound does not mean danger. I am not in Chica's kitchen. I am safe," he repeated to himself in his thoughts as a sort of mantra. Gregory and Miss Anderson made their way through the pile of dishes, rearranging their positions a few times to leave more room for other unwashed plates. Gregory was getting better at it with every item, the tension in his chest slowly dispersing. "So, Gregory," Miss Anderson piped up, breaking his train of thought. "Have I talked to you about school yet?" Gregory paused in the middle of lowering a bundle of forks into the dishwasher. You're a principal, right?" "Well, yes, but I meant to talk about school for you," Miss Anderson said. "School is going to start up on August the 25th. Do you think you'll be all right with going to school by then?" Gregory was completely blindsided by the question. "Go back to..." He shook his head. "I'm homeschooled." "Your mother homeschooled you?" Miss Anderson asked cautiously. "Well, on paper, yeah," Gregory shrugged, dropping the forks into their correct spot. "She didn't do much after teaching me how to read, though." What was the last grade you were in?" she asked. Kindergarten?" Gregory could plainly see Miss Anderson trying not to overreact to that. "I'm sorry," he added. "No, you don't have to be sorry, it's just..." Miss Anderson sighed, fiddling with the cups she was placing down. "I'll need to figure out how you can finish up your education," she quickly went on. "But, you know what? You don't have to start school this year, Gregory. You've already got a lot on your mind, and I'd rather get you comfortable here than force you back into school so soon." Gregory just dipped his head, busying himself with gathering more spoons. He hadn't really thought of school in a long time. It had never been relevant to his life before now. His energy had always been used on avoiding his mother and securing his next meal. He couldn't imagine being integrated back into a classroom, especially not right now. The kids in kindergarten had already made fun of him for his smelly clothes and his mom's old car. They would probably never let it go if they saw the ugly scar and half-missing ear. Gregory was taken back to reality as the final dish was placed, the two of them adding the pot of soap and sealing the dishwasher to let it run through a cycle. "Thank you for helping, Gregory. That was very nice of you," Miss Anderson said with her sweet smile. "Okay, now go pick out a movie. I'll get the popcorn ready." Miss Anderson had been encouraging him to see more movies, since Gregory had never been given the chance to do that before. So today, they planned to spend their time eating popcorn and continuing to integrate Gregory closer to what someone's childhood should feature. As Gregory made his way over to the TV remote, an odd feeling swarmed through him. He couldn't quite put a name to it yet. It was just an odd queasiness, something sore and distracting. He tried to swallow it down, but found it was not caused by a stubborn bit of food. Why should he get to watch a movie? That question made the scene wilt slightly. He was still standing there, staring at the TV screen, but not truly seeing any of the movies it was displaying for him. Not just this, why did he get to eat macaroni and cheese? Why did he get a mom who actually wanted to spend time with him? The shame of those questions just refused to back down. A flurry of pops from the kitchen startled him into dropping the remote, pivoting around only to realize it must be the popcorn. "Oh, sorry, is this too loud?" Miss Anderson had noticed his reaction. "No, it's fine," he laughed nervously, trying to shake himself out of this. Come on, Miss Anderson was really excited about this. She had been talking about all of her favorite childhood movies during lunch, suggesting each one to him so that he got a gauge of what his options were. He had to read each film's title many times to actually absorb what they were. There were recent ones like Rena's Quest, The Queen of Pluto, and Safekeeping. And there were older movies too, like How to Train Your Dragon, The Lion King, and The Emperor's New Groove. Gregory had never been exposed to any of this before, so he found that his eyes kept getting caught on details and titles, unable to remember which ones Miss Anderson said she liked the best. One of her favorites had something to do with a blue alien. But there were 3 of those movies, one named Monsters vs. Aliens, the second named Escape from Planet Earth, and the third named Megamind. Sweat began to bead on his brow as he switched from one to the other, desperately groping around for the memory of what Miss Anderson had said about the Alien movie. "Oh, do you want to watch Monsters vs. Aliens?" Gregory nearly dropped the remote again, and Miss Anderson had approached beside him, holding 2 bowls of fluffy golden popcorn. His heart began to flutter a little, looking from one title to the other. Which one was the good one? Gregory hastily pushed the remote to her. "Here, you can choose." Miss Anderson blinked a few times, setting the bowls down on the coffee table. I don't want to choose. You should get to choose the movie," she said. "You can pick whatever one you want." Gregory glanced back to the TV screen, chewing his lip. Which one did you say was good?" Gregory pointed. "The Monsters and Alien one, or the Megamind one?" Miss Anderson tilted her head slightly. "Those were just suggestions, Gregory. You can pick whichever one you want." Even though there was no true danger in this situation, Gregory felt flickers of adrenaline entering his system. He was a little alarmed by that, his lungs suddenly burning for more air. That must have shown up on his face because Miss Anderson asked, "What's wrong? Do you not like any of the movies?" I don't want to choose," Gregory blurted, trying to get her to take the remote. "You can pick." Miss Anderson still didn't take the remote, her amused smile dimming slightly. "Do you think I'll be mad if you pick a movie I don't like?" His lack of a response was telling enough. "Gregory, it's okay." She had a light chuckle in her words, trying to loosen up the tension. "I'm not going to blow my top off over a movie." She slid into something a little more serious, saying, "Remember what we talked about?" "Yeah." "Throwing a fit over little things that don't matter is abusive. Your mother shouldn't have done that to you, and I'm definitely not going to." Gregory could still feel his embarrassment flushing over his face, his gaze drooping to the carpet. He was pathetic. The fact that Miss Anderson had to explain things like that. As if sensing his weakness, the same intrusive thought jabbed him in the back. The biggest stressor Gregory faced now was choosing a movie? Seriously? This was luxury compared to the life that he had lived before. What did he ever do to deserve a mom like Miss Anderson? What did he ever do to deserve a home like this? What did he do to deserve toys, blankets, clothes, a phone? Oh, Gregory, it's all right, come here. Miss Anderson reached to him, and Gregory shakily sat down on the couch beside her. She wasn't fully committing to a hug, not seeming sure if he wanted her to touch him or not, but her arm was kept around his shoulder, trying to comfort him as she asked, "Why are you crying?" "I'm sorry." He covered his face, trying to stem the flow. "No, don't apologize," she said. "You can cry if you need to. I just want to know why you're upset so I can help." She retrieved a box of tissues for him, waiting patiently for him to dry his eyes. Gregory didn't take the offering yet. The idea of even touching it seemed so insulting. Gregory didn't deserve tissues. James had never been given tissues. "Please, Gregory, talk to me," Miss Anderson nudged at him. "Just tell me what's going on. I'm worried about you." It took a few hiccups and sniffles to get control of his voice again. Once he had things under control, Gregory stammered. I don't deserve any of this. Why are you always so nice to me?" "Because you deserve kindness," Miss Anderson said, her smile only making him feel even more sour. "Every kid deserves kindness." But not me," Gregory argued. "What have I ever done for anyone? James had to fight his whole life to keep me safe. He let me eat first. He distracted our mom from me whenever she got drunk. He always took the blame for everything and never once asked for anything in return. And I just left him to die. I let him die." By now, the grief had taken over. Miss Anderson pushed a bundle of tissues into his hands as his words broke apart into unintelligible sobs. She held out her arms, clearly asking him if he wanted a hug. Gregory teetered on the edge for a bit, then finally gave in. He fell into her embrace, her warmth enveloping him much like Freddie's had on the 28th. He felt evil for accepting this affection, the guilt and shame still screaming at him that he didn't deserve it, but he couldn't pull away even if he tried. Once his miserable cries died down, Miss Anderson murmured to him, "Gregory, none of this was your fault, okay? You shouldn't be blaming yourself. Vanessa was the one to do those things to your brother, not you." "But I let it happen," he whimpered. "I just stood there and did nothing." "Gregory, there's nothing you could have done," she repeated. "You're just a child. You didn't know what was going on." She drew back slightly, trying to meet his gaze. "Blaming yourself isn't going to make anything better. Would James want you to feel like this?" He didn't respond, his throat still feeling swollen around his voice box. She tried again to give him the wad of tissues, but he curled his fingers away. "Please, Gregory, clean yourself up a little," Miss Anderson encouraged. "Nobody needs to prove that they deserve tissues. That's just silly." After a bit more prompting, Gregory eventually gave in and accepted the tissues. As she began to wipe his face, Miss Anderson said to him gently, "People don't have to prove that they deserve care. You deserve to have a good home just because you automatically deserve it. You're not going to lose your basic rights if you make mistakes. Even people in prison deserve to be taken care of, and you aren't anywhere near as bad as those people, right?" I guess. "It's all right if you have to be reminded a few times, but just remember that you deserve love," Miss Anderson told him. "Your mother probably made you feel like you didn't deserve love, but that was wrong of her." He still felt a little weird about the whole concept. It was like he had eaten something that had expired weeks ago, the reactions of his insides confusing and sickening him at the same time. But by now, Gregory had stopped crying. He was still drying his eyes and trying to clear his nose, but the dark churning in the back of his head had gone down. "Do you still want to watch a movie?" she asked. Gregory lifted his head, scanning over the different titles again. He smiled a little, crumpling up the wet tissues. "Yeah, sure." Entry 3, January 3rd, 2062. We are still making progress. It took 12 failed donors to get a success, but the awakening of the successful one was even faster this time. When Subject 2 woke up, he did not respond to stimuli for only 2 days and nights. By hour 49, his eyes followed the light and flinched in response to the popping balloon. By hour 55, he found it easy to move his new humanoid body and to speak, and began to say similar things to Subject 1. When exposed to the sight of doctors with green masks and medical gloves, he showed a definite reaction this time, but when I asked what he remembers, he said that he doesn't recollect anything except a sense of dread. This is still good, though. A great improvement. I'm getting hopeful for the next one. Recommended to have the next subject awakened in the replica. Victor Miller. Woo! Honestly, it's really nice to have, like, a more domestic episode between Gregory and Miss Anderson because, you know, it's after so much stress and stuff, it's nice to have Gregory be able to relax a bit, even though he's kind of having some, survivor's guilt. Anyway, so, yeah, the next episode is going to come out the next 2 weeks, as long as nothing crazy happens. Please remember before you leave to like and comment about your favorite part, or just, leave a keyboard smash, or maybe just a couple emojis, or just the word bread. I don't know. It doesn't even matter what you comment, really, just as long as you're able to spread it throughout the algorithm. Thank you so much for getting this far into the episode. Thank you for getting this far into the series in general. Thank you so much for all of your support. It really, really helps me out, and it warms my heart to see everyone so excited about seeing the series every 2 weeks. So thank you so much for all of your support. I really could not be doing any of this without you guys. Thank you so much. The next episode's coming in 2 weeks. We're almost there at the end of the rewrite. Honestly, we're getting pretty close. Wait a second. My schedule is on the door here, so I'm gonna open it up. Just because a lot of people have been asking, so Gregory's episode, the Gregory episodes, we have 22 of them, and the animatronic episodes, we have 50 of them. So I can't do the math on the fly, but someone else can probably do the math of how many episodes we have left. So we have 22 Gregory episodes and 50 animatronic episodes. So that is how much of the rewrite we have left, okay? So we're getting pretty close to the end. There is still a little bit more of a rising climax that happens, but it's not going to be as crazy as before. A lot of this is winding down and healing and stuff, so there's going to be a resolution and, resolving a lot of Gregory's issues, and then the animatronics, don't worry, we're gonna get to Freddy, we're gonna get to DJ. It's just that, Roxy and Chica and Sun and Moon were more urgent, because they had the more immediate deadly conditions and stuff. So anyway, I'm kind of rambling now. Thank you so much for all the attention. Remember to like and comment. I really love you guys. Thank you. Goodbye. See you next time. Woo!